Court Reporter with Stovall and Associates.
Good evening. Welcome to Court Reporter with Stovall and Associates. I'm your host, Mike Igwinski. Mr. Culkin's actually our guest tonight, the notorious Harley Culkin in a certain way, newly elected to the Pahrump Town Board. So thanks for being on tonight. In fact, we're going to do a full half hour because we've got a lot of things to talk about. So anyway, again, congratulations. Now you're 2 meetings in?
Yes.
2 meetings in, and in fact, what I wanted to talk about just at the top of the show here was the makeup of the old board versus the new board. Because in fact, there's 3 newly elected members of the board with Dr. Tom Waters, Carolyn Endersby, and then yourself. We do have 2 holdovers that actually will be going up for re-election in the next cycle, but it's pretty much new blood there. So.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I don't want to really get into too much of the makeup of the old board. The new board I feel is unique in that I don't think there's any special interest involved. The people want to spend the time necessary to do the job well. Mm-hmm. They're very conscientious. They have diverse backgrounds that they can contribute. One of the big things for me is it'll be okay if we vote differently. We respect one another,
right?
And we understand that we have different backgrounds and experiences in life, and we won't always see things the same. But we're not going to hold it against one another, because the bottom line is we all know each one's voting from their heart, doing the right thing. And I think You're going to see a great board here. This board wants to initiate things, like some of the stuff I've done and other ones have done. So far, we've only had 2 meetings, so you're going to see some big changes in Pahrump. I feel.
Well, and that's the thing. You guys really are pushing some agendas forward. And in fact, even the old board had some agendas they were pushing forward. Obviously, one of the most controversial would be, the incorporation of Pahrump. But now, we're seeing some things that we're going to talk about a little bit later in the show that it looks like we might even be looking at the possibility of the town board being dissolved. So
yeah, talk.
I know talk is cheap, I guess.
Agenda is not a bad word. What's important is a person's agenda self-serving, or is it to serve the community? And I don't believe anybody on this board is self-serving.
No, and I think it's a very nice makeup. In fact, we had Dr. Tom Waters on a couple of weeks ago, and this was actually, I think it was the next days when he was going to have his first meeting, in fact, because we pre-taped. And he was saying he just had a lot of hope going in board because he felt like the communication was going to be good between you guys. And you had referenced it a little bit earlier. There was some strong arguing tactics, it seemed like, with the last board. So maybe there really will be more open exchange. And outside of just communication with the board members themselves, what do you think about the communications with the public? I mean, from you going in, obviously you only had 2 meetings, but...
Well, I wanted to see a definite change. I believe there's a small window of opportunity for this board to show the people that it's not business as before, that this board is receptive to working with the community. After all, you put us in office, we work for you. Mm-hmm. And that was part of my reason why I wanted to see Mr. Darby as chairperson. I made the motion and everybody...
Right.
4-1 was passed. And in my mind, he's done a great job. Nobody in the public is yelling at the chairperson being not nice, or there's no mics turned off.
Right.
So what we're seeing now is that the public feels that they're welcome to participate. And I think when they leave for the evening, they have a good feeling that they got to say what they wanted to say, and everybody was listening. So.
Well, I mean, you guys, your first town meeting was what, 5 hours, something like that?
Non-stop, without a break.
Yeah, I mean that means there really were. And how was the attendance? Did it say consistent the entire time? Unfortunately, I wasn't there, but
near the end, I say the last hour
started to waver a little bit, like any good baseball game, I guess, right? Anyway, okay, well, I mean, you had mentioned, in fact, that you had made the motion to make Ms. Parker the chairperson. Vice chairperson, and then also Mike Darby as chair, and then we also have Endersby. She's going to be the clerk.
That's correct.
Correct, okay. And so then also rounding it out would be yourself and then Dr. Tom Waters. So
right, I saw that Mrs. Endersby would like to do research and go over paperwork and so on. I thought she'd do an excellent job as a clerk.
According to her background, and I've spoken with her a couple of times, I think she'll make an excellent clerk. You made a very good choice.
Sure has so far.
Well, anyway, and there's a lot of really interesting things. One of the things that caught my eye, and I wanted to talk to you about before we go into our first break, was this, I guess there's going to be some discussion in front of the county commission about the dissolution of the Pahrump Town Board. And in fact, the district attorney, Brian Coonsey, cited under NRS 269.022 that in fact they do have the power to do that.
Well, I would imagine that you being an attorney, you know, there's a lot of NRSs, and if I want to find one to support what I want to do, I could probably find it. My thought on this is real simple. I am not for an incorporation at this time, but I do believe in proper protocol and procedure. The town of Pahrump does not have the authority to make a decision and place it on a ballot. The county commissioners do. The board voted to move forward with incorporation as a question and have it put on the ballot. And to make that happen, they would have to go to the commissioners who do have the authority, and they should have followed through with it. Mm-hmm. And I don't buy that that's not their, legal place to do. There's a chain of command and a proper procedure, and it was followed. Mm-hmm. So they were wrong. But so they ignore that. They ignore the town board, an official board of elected people, mm-hmm. and instead they act on 39 signatures? Somebody wanting to get rid of the town of Pahrump board. That has more validity, so maybe I should go around with a signature with, maybe I can get 45 signatures, say let's get rid of the county commissioners, and maybe they'll put that on the ballot.
Well, I mean, since we're discussing it, Commissioner Schinhofen, in fact, I'll find the quote here. Commissioner Schinhofen had this to say, they have representation through us. My idea in this motion is so we can address all these things and the people will have a clear understanding of what they're asking for, as in being the dissolution of the town board. Is this going to be just basically people coming together and discussing why? I mean, is this a new idea, or have you heard people saying in the past they wanted to dissolve the town board?
No, it's a new idea. Personally, it doesn't bother me any. But, for the public's understanding of it, I would finish my term of 4 years.
Correct.
And as you mentioned earlier, 2 more people will be coming up for election. So if this was to move forward, so to speak, then their terms would be 2 years, so everybody ends at 4 years.
Correct.
But what I mean by not worried about it is I couldn't imagine that the people in Pahrump would be that stupid to think that we should turn over to the county commissioners total running of the town of Pahrump. What exactly has the commissioners done for Pahrump so far? Let's see, they stuck a prison down our throat. They borrowed money, they got bonds and borrowed money to build a 300-bed jail. At the meeting, one of the deputies told us that they have 45 now, so apparently that we need to jump from 45 to 300. My opinion is they want to lock up other people's criminals here. So they want to bring all their criminal families here and everything. Apparently the business of Pahrump is going to be policing criminals. And I don't know about you, but I don't think too many people would feel safer in their homes with all this increased criminal activity. But that's what's going on. So instead of bringing in jobs, good paying jobs for people.
Before we go into that, and we will, and I promise you, but one thing I want to address before you continue, and we're going to go to a commercial break right after, but criminal activity, because you're saying that, in fact, if somebody's incarcerated here, their families would naturally migrate here to be closer to that relative?
Sure, why not? Nye County, as an example, pays more for welfare housing than any county in the state of Nevada. I've seen the charts. Mm-hmm. And so, you can live pretty good on welfare and visit your hubby. You don't have to spend too much money on gas. Welfare don't pay for your gas. And, and the rest of us got to deal with this negative thing. So, the sheriff is going to do great, right? He'll have to have more deputies, and his empire is going to grow and grow and grow. And when I see the sheriff, I like to ask him a question. His salary is based on state law. And, of course, I'm sure that in Clark County, as an example, the sheriff makes more money than he does. So what's the criteria? Well, more beds, maybe? More people under you? More equipment you're in charge of? Does that raise your pay?
Do you know the answers to that?
No, but I want to find out.
All right. We're going to take our first commercial break, and we'll be right back.
Court Reporter with Stovall and Associates. Court Reporter with Stovall and Associates.
Hi, welcome back to Court Reporter with Stovall and Associates. I'm your host, Mike Iglinski. Again, our guest tonight is Mr. Harley Culkin, and he's the newly elected member to the Pahrump Town Board. So before we had went to commercial break, I had actually stopped you, but I want to let you continue. We were talking about the possibility of a new 300-bed jail coming into Pahrump. And in fact, you had mentioned, what's the purpose for this? So today, just so I'm clear about the facts here, we have 45 beds.
That's what I was told at the last town board meeting with one of the sheriff deputies.
And that's 45 beds in Pahrump.
He didn't actually say. First he said, I think 35. Then he went to 45. So I was wondering if he was maybe bringing in baby or something. But
so we're talking about, and this new jail, as far as it's being proposed, would house.
Oh, it's being built.
Or business
businesses in this town wish they could have got their business accomplished so fast. I mean, right away they spent a bunch of money having it designed, over $1 million having it designed. It's like there's companies that design those things. Why don't you just get one of their plans that looks good to you and build it? Why are you spending all this money to have someone design something that probably isn't unique? And then they went right out and got bonds to build this thing, and they broke ground already.
Mm-hmm. Where's it at?
I think up Basin somewhere.
Okay.
I haven't had a chance to go take a look.
And one of the
I
things
would just get angry looking anyway.
One of the things that we also spoke about was, in fact, the 9.5 mile rule before the correctional facility.
Well, this is what I'm getting at. RPC, a lot of people may not realize, said no to the zone change to put a prison in a residential neighborhood. We also had a law in place in this town that said no prisons within 9.5 miles of a residence. So the RPC said no to removing that law. So it went to the county commissioners. They overturned the decision. They stick the prison in a residential neighborhood, and then they put the law back that says no prisons within 9.5 miles of a residence. I mean, was there some preferential treatment there? And now they're on the fast track to build this 300-bed jail. So apparently the business of Pahrump is going to end up being criminal activity. We're going to police the criminal activity that they helped bring here.
Viable industry?
Not for me. It's not what I envisioned it Pahrump to be. No. So that's why the town needs to stand up and take it in the direction it can.
Another one of the things I want to discuss with you too, and this is spoken of during the last town board meeting, in fact, or I should say the first town board meeting, was the scroponics, and this is kind of falls into the same category we're talking about as far as commerce coming in. The groponics is looked upon by some people as a tremendous opportunity for the town of Pahrump. But we're still having these issues regarding the quit-claim deed as far as put into place for 40 of those acres that they're proposing to put of the 60 that groponics would be put on. And in fact, you were very vocal, came out against it. And I don't know if it's fairly perceived as you being against, say, commerce. You're a businessman yourself. But could you explain to the viewers, a little bit more detail, what were your issues coming up with groponics coming into town?
I'm certainly pro-business. What I didn't like was the unethical pursuit of it, so to speak, in this case. When you get a piece of land from the county commissioners and promise to the people in the neighborhood that you're going to build a park, and it's bad enough you didn't follow through, and then you want to violate the deed. I mean, the deed seemed pretty clear to me. It said it must remain in the hands of the town forever, and it said for public use.
For public use, right.
That seems pretty clear to me. And so they asked us, we were asked, there was an item on the agenda, I don't know, put it on there, to go to the county commissioners. So what I said at the meeting was that it was bad enough that the town of Pahrump was unethical in violating the deed, from what I saw, and also going back on the word to provide a park for those people. And then add insult to injury, now we're just going to take the land away altogether. And then go to the county commissioners who gave the land to the town for a park and ask them to participate in the ethical behavior and go back on their word. I said that I would not participate in that.
So, what is the town attorney, the town of Pahrump's attorney, in fact, said to this quitclaim deed that it means nothing, or?
Well, my answer to that was certainly not an attorney, but if it meant nothing, then why would we go to the county commissioners and ask them to take something out that doesn't mean anything?
So where do we sit today?
I'm not really sure. Mr. Cassani was meeting with the town manager yesterday, and I went over in the afternoon hoping to hook up with him, but apparently the governor was in Vegas or somewhere. The town manager went off to see him, so when we get done here, I'm going to go over and see if I can get a follow-up. I guess we need to do something. The property, so to speak, is in limbo. But I believe when I read the contract, it said that whatever we would do as a town would all be contingent upon our legal ability to do so. So if we can't legally convey the land to him in any way, then the deal's off, without any liability on our part. And I want to make sure that that's so.
Well, let me ask you this. As far as, how was it proposed to Mr. Cassani, who is a managing partner, or said managing partner for Groponics, how was it proposed to him that this land would be made available to him to put a business onto? I
don't know how he ended up in Pahrump. I know that the town has Mr. Al Balakwi as economic development director,
right,
whatever his title is. And the town does have a few properties, and Mr. Cassani was shown the properties, and he preferred the one on Kellogg.
Oh, okay. So he was actually looking at property, or he was being shown properties that would be possibly made available to him. But again, it seems as if, if a way a quitclaim deed should be working, that I don't know how it would be made available if there is the limitation it's for town use or for public use. So today we don't know where it sits.
No, it's kind of in limbo. And had we gone to the county commissioners, I don't consider some of the stuff they do too ethical, so who knows what they would do, but it would seem rather unusual for them to have their legal advice. The district attorney's office give them advice, and then they would violate that advice. So I wouldn't expect that it would happen, but who knows?
Well, yeah, in fact, and the district attorney's office is the one who's giving them legal advice. That would,
Yes.
that would be the representation.
And
in fact, Mr. Coonsey or his office, in fact, has said no, that there's not use outside of public use for that piece of land.
Right. It would have been an unusual situation to see that he's basing on what it says in the deed now, if they removed the things. But that would, then of course the deed has a different meaning.
Right.
But on the other hand, it's unethical. The deed meant something, was given to give the land to the town to keep it forever and to use it for public use. And so that's like going back on your word. So would they go back on their word? I mean, it just doesn't, it doesn't seem right to do
It's
that.
magically absolved today. Gone. Are you in support of having Groponics come into town?
Oh, certainly. I mean, it never was about that. It was the location and the fact that the town owned the property and what the property was supposed to be for.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about that. It's not about the business.
Okay. Well, I mean, it looks as to be, something that I guess if the town wants it, then they'll help propel this forward, and if the county wants it, they'll probably do the same. And hopefully, if it's done in, in a manner that's going to make it a viable deal in business. So.
Well, the contract said that he had till June 1st to break ground, and he'd be in violation of the contract by 10 days later. So, it wasn't like it was life-threatening to me. I would have been surprised if it all came to fruition anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Mm-hmm. Well, anyway, I think we're going to take our second break, and then we'll come back and we'll discuss this item that was introduced by Dr. Tom Waters for a moment of silence or prayer to open the town board meetings. So we'll be right back after this commercial.
Court reporter with Stovall and Associates. Court reporter with Stovall and Associates.
Then we'll go into the
All right, we are back with our last segment of tonight's show. Court reporter with Stovall and Associates. Our guest again is Mr. Harley Colkin, newly elected town board member. We were just discussing during the commercial break, actually, item 8 from the January 11th agenda, awarding a winning bid for the town of Pahrump community pool reconstruction to the tune of $212,000.
Okay, I believe in communication, so I explained to the public some things that I'll explain in a moment here. And then, based on that, I don't recall anybody ever got up and said anything against spending the money. On your tax bill is something specifically for the pool. So money is collected and it's been sitting there. Mm-hmm. It cannot be used for anything else. It's not that we're taking some money and spending it on the pool, so to speak.
Right.
That money is specific to that, and it's on people's property tax. The health department has been basically ignoring that pool for many years, but now they're starting to get on them. The concrete's cracked all around the thing. To my amazement, the deck drains, like when it rains and stuff, to go right into a septic tank. Well, that's pretty crazy because good enough rain to fill it up and the sewage would be coming out. I mean, I never heard of such a thing. So it's time to fix some things over there. And it's not the money either sits there and rots away, because you can't use it for nothing else, or let's finally fix the pool, because most people know that the longer you let something go that needs repair, the worse it gets, and the more it'll end up costing you. So it's time to fix it.
I've realized that when it comes to getting my brakes fixed on my car.
Yeah, the longer you let it go, the more damage happens.
That's true. That's true.
It's like my customers, I tell them, if it isn't working, turning it off. I assure you it won't fix itself, and it's only going to get worse. And I'll just make more money. I don't mind, but
right.
I suggest you turn it off, though.
That's pretty funny. One of the other things that was pretty hot button topic was item 10 from the January 11th agenda, and this is very carefully worded. The discussion and possible decision to add prayer and or a moment of silence was a permanent item on the town board agenda at item 1 between call to order and the Pledge of Allegiance.
Well, you know what they say about religion and politics.
They mix well.
They're not usually popular subjects to be talking about. I really was hoping it would just been a moment of silence. As I said at the meeting, I was trying to convey to people that people feel differently about certain things, and you can't just think that everybody feels a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to religion, as an example, when I had to talk on it because you know, as you said, the motion was that. So
this was introduced by Dr. Tom Waters.
Yeah. So the first thing I started saying was, well, I'm not a Christian, and I heard this big gasp in the audience, you know. And then I said, I'm Jewish, and I heard another gasp. So that's when I made the comment, well, I guess I lost a few more, you know. But the paper put the comment, but didn't explain why I made the, you know, the comment. And I just
You're making light of the situation.
Yeah, well, I gave a little, you know, insight to him. I grew up in Los Angeles, hardly a small little hick town.
Right.
And when I was a young man, it was very common to see people with serial numbers around their arms. And I had a daily reminder of the, you know, the Holocaust and just how bad it was. And you know, and those things stick out maybe a little more. I mean, even today when you turn on television, I mean, there's always something on to remind me of what happened to Germany in World War II to Jews. Okay. People don't think I'm a Jew. I don't know what I'm supposed to look like. And even today, people make comments to me in this town, and I'm just laughing to myself. Well, if you only knew, you'd be a little embarrassed right now. So I tried to convey to the audience that all it would do for me to have a prayer, because we know it's going to be a Christian prayer.
So you would have to assume so. You don't know.
99.999%.
This is a conservative, retired, mostly Christian community.
Right, and that's fine. I understand I'm not the majority, you know, but I don't want to be reminded of that. I don't want to be reminded of things people have said to me in the past, the atrocities that have happened to Jews through history. I just don't want to start a meeting thinking about that, and that's what would happen for me. I think a person could understand how I feel as an example of, if let's say the prayer was led by a Muslim as an example. It wouldn't bother me any, because I respect all religions. I really do mean that, and I could care less. But I know that a lot of people are going to find that offensive. And we know that a lot of people think that Muslims are all these terrorist people, and we both know that's not true at all. And so I just felt that religion in a place of our government business was inappropriate. And I like to compromise and work with people, so I suggested that we just go with the moment of silence, and you could think about whatever you want. In fact, I suggested maybe the chairperson would give us a topic, possibly a positive one, like being thankful you have a job or a good family, you know, food on your table, whatever, to think about. Start the meeting on something positive. But I don't want to start it on something negative, you know. You know, it's just like someone wrote in the paper yesterday, I was reading a letter there, I think it was, that this is a Christian nation and all this kind of stuff. Well, I find that offensive. I know that I'm not the majority. I know, but I also know that this is a melting pot of all kinds of people in this country, and that's what makes us so magnificent and strong. And yet certain people seem to want to pick on the thing that makes us the best.
Let me ask you this. Dr. Tom Waters was on the show, and he in fact had said that starting the meeting with a small prayer, maybe before the meeting started, was something that he was interested in doing. If, say this item doesn't pass, or didn't pass, would you be opposed to, say, a group of Christians praying in a public place before the meeting started?
Certainly not, and for the reason that the people that will be in his circle are ones that want to be there. No one will be subjected to something or have to be around something they don't want to be around.
So you feel like it's almost like you're pushing religion onto the people who are attending for this public meeting.
I opened up by saying, you know, I believe in the separation of church and state. When someone called me and said, oh, well, that's not in the Constitution, and people misunderstand. I said, didn't say it was. I said, I believe in separation of church and state.
Right.
You know, we're free to practice the faith that we want in this country, but you're not free to try to make someone else feel bad or push your religion off of somebody.
So again, if a moment of silence, not
That's
a problem.
fine.
Not a problem at all. Well, anyway, so I mean, it sounds like you guys had a pretty productive meeting. Now, last night's meeting, I don't have the minutes on it anymore. Was there anything that was an interesting topic to you from last night's meeting?
Well, you mean the night before?
I'm sorry,
You're trying to trick me.
No. It's it's a hectic work schedule.
No, not really. I think the biggest thing was I initiated an action that I don't like the way the meeting procedure was in the past. In other words, one item in particular to me is that I believe we should take public comment before a motion was made. That way, we're basically hearing everything, and the public's made to feel that we're participating, and the public is, you know, we're not just listening to, we're hearing you. You make a difference, and there was a few other things. So all the other people on the board got in the spirit of it, and they suggested changes as well. So would have been a lot for it to go over. So a suggestion was made that we would look at everybody's suggestions and fine-tune that, turn it back into the town manager, and the next meeting we'll vote on it.
Oh, that'd be wonderful. So you're just creating more dialogue again.
The only one of the items that was suggested was that we would have to end the meeting by 10 o'clock unless the board voted to want to continue and come back the next day. I, for one, don't care for that. I start something, I want to finish it.
Right.
And it said at 8:30 in the morning, and then it was explained that, well, they copied something, cut and paste, and that's what it said. Well, we could do it the next evening or whatever. But, you know, that's wasting a lot of people's time, you know. Let's get in there and get the business done. And also, if the meeting has the potential to continue as long as it takes, that might keep people from, you know, trying to drag things on or whatever. I think it's more conducive to having a meeting that does what it needs to do and takes whatever time it takes.
Let me ask you that. That's an interesting point. So if you're thinking that the more communication you have directly with the public, especially before an item is voted on, and you're not in favor of capping same meeting time, do you really feel as if this is going to be your opportunity to communicate with the public and let them voice their opinions before you guys?
Definitely. See, a lot of people are still continuing from what they have in the past, come up under public comments of things and criticizing everything. And I've received some emails and conversations where people say, "Oh, we need to limit that and everything." I'm a little reluctant to do that. What I want, I see a challenge.
Mm-hmm.
I want to do things and work with people so that they don't feel that they want to do that anymore.
Right.
So I don't want to cut them off. I think I've been given a message myself. And that message is that business needs to be a little different. We need to treat the public respectfully, and we need to listen to what they want, and all that will go away by itself. We don't have to disrespect people who are saying, "Well, we don't want to hear that," or, you know, "Cut that short. We've heard it enough." You know,
Right.
It's just my feeling.
No, and I happen to agree with you. I think that especially when you're talking about local politics, you know, you are hitting people right where it matters, and it's right in the middle of their homes. And so giving them the opportunity to discuss these items with the board and also amongst their peers, you know, I think that's what local government was created to do.
Well,
So
you know, they put us in office, and they can actually take us out too if they don't like it.
that is very true. You know
So
what?
that's who we work for.
It's nice to talk to a politician that actually believes in its constituency voicing its opinion.
Well, I've spent too many years on the other side, and I don't have a short memory.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, you did spend a lot of time. You did your time down in the pits, right?
All right. Well, no one's going to, they may not agree with me, but no one will call me a hypocrite.
Well, Mr. Culkin, thanks for being on tonight. I really do appreciate it. We'll have you on soon enough, I'm sure.
All
So,
right, well, thank you.
Anyway, thanks again for watching. Court Reporter with Stovall and Associates. We'll see you next Thursday, 6 p.m. And we'll have another town board member on for you next week. Thanks.
Court Reporter with Stovall and Associates.